Well, hello and welcome back to the Tao Manifesting Tarot. This is the most in depth metaphysical reading you're going to find anywhere. And I say metaphysical purposely. Yes, our focus, our ultimate destination is the tarot reading, the tarot energy. But I don't strictly stop at the tarot. I add in other metaphysical things as well. For example, numerology, astrology. I've done those two things for more than 50 years. God, I can't believe I just said that. Wow. Tarot, I've done for more than 20 years. And what I've discovered about tarot is it doesn't predict anything. From my point of view, from my perspective, doesn't really forecast anything. Once in a while, maybe you get a little bit lucky, but for the most part, doesn't take care of that job. The purpose of tarot is to be an energy gate. Okay? It is a point of activation. Tarot is the science of potential, of your potential, your ability to manifest, your ability to create a frequency. Your human imagination is your kryptonite. You don't get it from a desktop, a laptop, a smartphone, AI. You don't get it from any outside source. Oh, they may contribute some thoughts, but the idea, the vision takes your imagination. The energy, if it's used positively and properly, comes from within you and then goes out into the world, not the other way around. The other way around, taking it from the smartphone, laptop, desktop, AI, any of that crap, technical crap, dumbs you down, destroys your imagination, weakens your humanity, has to come from within you and go outward. Again, your ability to manifest, your human imagination is kryptonite. So that's why in the Tao Manifested Tarot reading for today and every day, there's no fantasy, no rainbows, no unicorn imaging, none of that new age crap. Because that's what it is. These people don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're talking about things coming from outer space, energies, frequencies. These kinds of energies they know nothing about. We don't know their length. For example, it may take 10, 20, 30,000, 100,000 years to get here. How the hell do they know what they're talking about? They're pulling stuff out of their ass. They're trying to convince you they know something and they don't know anything, but they're going to tell you the stuff that they think you want to hear. I don't do that. No fantasy, no rainbows, no unicorn, reality in a time like now. Now, there are people who go, well, it's a matrix. It's yeah, it's the matrix we're in. Okay? So you have to work from where you are. That's your starting point, not your ending point. That's your starting point. So, yeah, we're in a matrix. And tomorrow we're going to be in another matrix, which will be connected to this matrix, which will be. It's all bullshit. At some point, you have to stand up. Remember, I said that kryptonite, your imagination, that's what you got to use. Today, for example, the message of the Tao Manifesting Tarot is the continuing saga, the unfinished symphony we call life. That's where we are. It is not a race, it is a marathon. And the way that you participate, the way that you positively impact it is with your own imagination. And for that, that's what the tarot is used for. It is the science of your potential. You can go yes, no, or I don't give a damn. That's up to you. That's your free will. But destiny, fate, has taken you to this point. That's the matrix you're dealing with, moron. So deal with it, or it will deal with you. So we have tarot, science of potential, numerology, astrology, the sciences of cycles, within cycles, within cycles, within cycles. And that's where the fate is laid out. For example, Pluto and Uranus were in two very specific places in the sky July 4th, 1776. We signed the Declaration of Independence. They had their spots. 250 years later, because it takes Pluto 250 years to go around our solar system, they're in the same spot. They hit about 2 years ago. Last year, still feeling it. We're still feeling it now. So, what happened in 1776 with us declaring our independence? By the way, just a few years later, France also had a revolution. So, you see what's going on in the world. Same thing. Revolution. Maybe civil war. Who knows? People understand, at least on an intuitive level, we need that Pluto energy, that evolution. But at this point, it looks like the only way we're going to get evolution is through revolution of some kind. So it's the same energy or set of energies, but in a different perspective, but the same thing. That's why I tie all of this together so it's understandable. So here we are, the continuing saga. That is the theme of the day. The continuing saga, the unfinished symphony called life. We are going to begin our journey together in a moment. We will take a look at the astrology. But first, I want to remind you about my email. I had a bunch of them, I got it down to one. People are responding. Thank you. And you're very kind. I really appreciate it. I work very hard to keep my ego out of it and information that you can use to help you understand every single day with every tarot reading. It takes me a while, but it's worth it just for my own personal effort. But when I get nice comments from in my email, well, it makes it all the better. But you don't have to be nice. You can be terrible. You can be unhappy. You can be sad. You can be mad. Doesn't make any difference. It's tau-tarot at proton.me. Tau-tarot at proton.me. I'm getting off the Gmail stuff, all the usual kinds of things. I don't know how much independence or freedom I'm having on Proton, but I'm at least making some effort to try to step out. Tau-tarot at proton.me. Please feel free. Anytime, good, bad, indifferent. I want to hear from you. Now, let's get to the what I call the astrologic portion. Back a few months ago, just as we got past our 4th of July celebration here in the United States, I decided, you know what, let's take a look at the history of the United States, but from an astrological point of view. Maybe it'll give me some more understanding. Boy, has it opened up a door. Woo, double door. Woo. Because in the digging, you find things that you never were told in history class. For example, and this is the reason why I use the heading, The Conquest of America. That's what it's been from the beginning. The Jewish bankers in Europe began to set themselves up for modern banking system in the late 1400s, 1500s. For example, King of England wanted to go to war because that's what kings want all the time, you know. Peckers are so small, I guess that's the only way they can prove their manhood. Anyway, they wanted money. They didn't have any, and they sent out word to Europe saying, hey, we need money for war. Well, he got the Rothschilds and people like them coming to the king and saying, look, we'll do it. We'll give you the money that you need, all that you need. But we want to throw in one special condition. You let us form the Bank of England. You don't have any part of it. I mean, you can be a shareholder, stockholder type thing, but you're not going to own it. We're going to own it. And we're going to call it the Bank of England. Why? Because it sounds so damn official. And at that point, England was really the powerhouse on the planet. So it carried a lot of weight. Well, of course, we had the colonists coming from England to the United States trying to form something independent of England, but they couldn't get rid of the bankers. And in fact, it was the bankers that squeezed the colonists. Taxation without representation. They didn't care back then. Didn't give a damn. You guys are in America, a long ways away, colonists. Guess what's happened here in the United States? Our lawmakers, our politicians are just as big a pieces of shit as they've always been. No spine, no backbone, cowards, and they don't represent us. George Carlin said so. He told us years ago they don't give a damn about us. They don't care. In fact, they're in the way, and now they're to a point where they're not even covering it up very much. Screw you, and what are you going to do about it? It seems to be the attitude. Mark Twain had the best definition of a politician I have ever heard. And it was actually classy. He said, politicians are like diapers. They need to be changed often and for the same reason. True, true. I think that's the qualifications for being a politician. They're liars, cheats, thieves, and those are their better qualities. So here we are in the United States of America, but across the world, politicians are dealing with the very, very rich, the deep state, the wealthy. They don't give a damn about us. Although this past weekend in England, they got 3 million people out there bitching. France is burning down. Same thing going on in around India or New Delhi, something like that. Bengal. People have had enough. People, and even in the United States now, talk of civil war. I don't know that that's wise, but there will be some element of force to change the system. It's not going to go away. You can't go up to Bill Gates and say, we're not going to do it anymore. Too bad. He'll stick a needle in you or shove a gun barrel up your ass. Don't worry, you're going to do what he wants unless you counter. And I think we're moving to that place, unfortunately. So that really is the conquest of America. And for me, just kind of a final note here, the terminal date for the United States was 1913. That's when the Federal Reserve was started, because that's when the income tax was started, the Fed to fund the Fed. They got women to work to help create more taxes to fund the Fed. They got into World War I, which was actually World War II. Yeah, but the point of the matter is 1913 when they finally got a hold of the bank in America called the Fed, the private bank, their bank. It's all over. And we're fighting with that idea now. But let's take a look at 5 year span. Yesterday we went from 1965 to 70, very momentous time. 1970 to 1975. If you sat back, you'd go, man, a lot of stuff went on. We had the Kent State shootings, remember? College students. The Watergate break in. Nixon resigns because of it. Of course, at the same time, he opened the door with trade with China. God knows what the hell that was going to materialize into. We had the oil crisis for the first time. The EPA was established. And something else came up that finally got people to stop. We had something called stagflation. The economy wasn't growing. The bankers did not want that anymore. They got Nixon to walk away from the gold standard because they want a dollar that can float any way they want it to make them more money. And since that time, the 1970, 1975 situation, everything's changed. You could call it the pre-New World Order. Oh, yeah, it was Bush who declared it officially, but it was already happening in the 70s and people could feel it. They didn't have a handle on it yet. Kent State shootings, Watergate break-in, Nixon resigns, first time a president does that. We got this thing with China, the oil crisis, and then stagflation. The economy's not going anywhere. We thought it would always grow. You know, it's like people look at it the same way today. You got these overpaid athletes who are going, "I'll get 45 million bucks a year because next year it's going to be better." Next year, no, 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 no. Doesn't have to be better next year. It can be a hell of a lot worse. It doesn't always grow. What goes up must come down. We found that out in the early 1970s with stagflation. So we look at the astrology and you go, well, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all favorable aspects. It should be easy. But it's not. All the energy is moving in one direction. And that direction, and we didn't know it at the time, was to a new world order where the banks, the war makers, and the techies, and remember, 1970s, tech really wasn't doing much of anything. That was to come next in the 1980s. So there was all of this and all this energy. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all favorable. Should be easy. When that happens, invariably there's always trouble. Something going on that maybe you do not really perceive fully. And that's what's happened. 1970 changed it all. Yep. The Love and Peace or Peace and Love group finished. We're going back down to the basics. Let's take a look at the meme for today. Here you're going to see all of it having to do pretty much with the vaccine. The one that stands out for me is the Louisiana Surgeon General saying COVID shot deadlier than every vaccine in history combined. Read all the information on this page. The evidence is there. I can't make you see. Missing link: billions in profits for corporation while your workers can't afford housing, groceries. That's not success. It's called exploitation. That's the GDP, the gross domestic product. Every nation, oh, the gross domestic product is up. You know what the gross domestic product is? Take those three words, gross domestic product. All that tells you is how much richer the rich are getting. It doesn't say anything about the average person. It has nothing, because it never has had anything to do with the average person. They don't give a damn. How much money am I making? How much money am I making? How much money? How much control? How much control? How much control? So when you hear the gross domestic product, realize that's the corporation saying F you and nothing less. Let's go to the tarot. Let's do the focus. Let's take all this energy. Let's focus it. Got the Ten of Swords. If you're familiar with the card, it is a guy laying on the ground with 10 swords in his back. Swords are points of information, data. This guy's been lied to. Absolutely, in every single way. And as I'm going through this American history, I realize nothing that they told us about history was true. Nothing. So I feel like this Ten of Swords guy, stabbed in the back, betrayed, victimized. Next card is the Five of Cups. Total rejection. This guy, man, he just doesn't care. Just doesn't care that he doesn't care that he doesn't care. He doesn't care. There's hope. I mean, he's got two full cups behind him, three spilled cups in front of him. Okay, but two full cups behind him, a bridge and the castle he wants to go to. It's there. It was within his reach. But he feels betrayed. He feels victimized. He's just like, I'm done. And the final card is the Two of Cups. Twos are always decisions. It's the decision to make a connection with ourself, a connection and trust with ourselves first, and then we can start reaching out to similar people. But until we know that we are committed in a very positive way to us, we trust us, we believe in us, we forget the rejection and betrayal. We step in and say, okay, it's a new day. I'm going to step forward. Until we get to that point, the unfinished symphony continues. Just keeps repeating. It's the continuing saga, and we are the ones that let this continuing saga continue by feeling betrayed, feeling rejected. Turn it around. Start making that connection with yourself. You can start making it then with others. That's the key. Time's up. We're out. That's it for today. Thank you very much for doing it. I always, always, always appreciate the fact that you're here. I'm here every day for you. Tune in anytime that you want. Please like and subscribe. There is so much going on. They're even screwing around now with TikTok. They do not want us to talk. They do not want us to communicate. They do not want us to do that Two of Cups things, to make that connection with ourselves. They don't want that. And so they're stopping us every way they can. And they're not going to stop. They're not going to give an inch. Remember, this is the continuing saga. You can make the difference. Connect with yourself and your spirit. It's the only hope. Like and subscribe. That's why it's so important. Between now and the next time you and I get together and do tarot, peace and blessings.